Hello, everyone. My guest today is Jindou Lee. He's a CEO and founder of Happyco, a software provider to the multifamily property management industry. Before Happyco, he worked in the video gaming industry on titles like Mortal Kombat and Gauntlet. He also founded and exited a few other tech companies, is an ex-soccer player, and studied graphic design at the University of South Australia. Jindou, you ready to take us to the top?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So you basically stole all of my audience's childhood with Mortal Kombat and Gauntlet, huh?
Oh yeah, it was fun. It was games that I grew up with as well, right? And so getting to work on those titles was it was kind of double edged. It was really fun to be able to do that, but on the same token, you got to see how the sausage was made, and you're like, man, this isn't as great as I thought it would be. But,
Yeah. We recently had Howard on, who's running Start Engine now, but he was the guy that bought Activision back in the day, and then obviously launched huge titles like Call of Duty and World of Warcraft and such. And once you realize how those things are made, you start to go, "Oh my gosh, the psychology is incredible."
Yeah, it's I remember like there was one I was going to like recording studio trying to do the audio for, I think it was maybe Gauntlet or one of those titles, and this is what killed my whole childhood, right, in this one moment. So I was like really excited to go check out how the recording was done and this audio, and I think they were trying to record like the death sounds, like that kind of stuff. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go in and check it out. And I was trying to find the recording studio, and I couldn't find it. And finally, I saw this sign, like recording in progress, whatever. I looked in and I saw this guy, the sort of the Simpsons character. It's like overweight, eating pizza and has a box on his tummy, and then he's just going. And I'm like, oh man, I thought there would be at least like some actor from Hollywood or something, but it was just the pizza guy, and I was like, man, that really sucked. And so I'm done.
That's hysterical. Yeah. All right, now you're building Happyco. So tell us what the company does, and is it pure play SaaS?
Yeah, for the most part, it is it's a SaaS model that we are adopting. So maybe I'll take a little bit from the top. So Happyco, what we do is we actually believe in building stronger, healthier, and happier communities. And we actually believe that life is short, and we want to help people live their best lives. So in a very roundabout way, we actually offer very beautiful, like what I call like easy to use, people-centric software and technology for the multifamily real estate industry.
So who's actually buying?
So, it's property management companies, it's asset owners that manage and own residential real estate, specifically in the apartment industry.
Okay, companies buy. Okay, and any geographical kind of center in cities, rural.
The huge focus for us is North America. So, like multifamily as an asset class, like the apartment industry, only really exists in the US and North America. It's crazy because I came from Australia. So this accent you're hearing isn't Irish, and it actually throws people off when they hear it and they look at me like, oh, I don't know what to do. But so in Australia, there is just single family, like for rentals, it's just single family or condos, right? So you can buy an apartment, but you can't really rent one from like that's institutionally owned. So really, this only exists in the US. Having said that, it's actually starting to explode in other cities. Like I know in Europe it's getting pretty huge now. South America is getting pretty big, and so I think it's starting to catch wind, and everyone is trying to model the US sort of the model that we have in the US. So yeah, it's getting pretty funny. Yeah.
Okay, so these guys are paying, and now we're short on time, so I don't want to go down every customer cohort. So I mean, on average, what would you say one of these folks are paying you per year to manage their properties?
So what we do is we actually sell software to them, right? To do
that's what I'm asking. What do they pay for the software?
Between like anywhere between on the enterprise side, between like a 50 to 100K ACV is what we typically see.
Mm-hmm. But if I force you to an average across your entire base, what would you say the kind of average ACV is?
If I took out all the SMB, then I would say around the 70K.
Okay. But again, I guess what I'm asking really is, the reason I'm asking an average is that will tell us who your like main cohort is. Do you have a large majority of your revenue made up from SMB?
No, our focus today is really on the enterprise side. So anyone that manages 2,000 apartments and above, our largest customer manages a couple 100,000 units.
Okay. Historically, though, are you now moving up market, or have you always had kind of average ACVs of 70 grand?
No, when we first started, our average ACV was maybe $500 a year.
Yeah.
So we started off in the SMB space, and then we over time, and probably in 2017, we made this jump from the SMB to enterprise.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So see, I want to understand that trend. So I want to dive into that, but first, just so that's now you know why I'm asking. So today, what would you say the average is, entire customer base? It's obviously lower than 70.
Oh, that's a very tough question. I call it about $5,000.
Okay.
If you kind of average across all our customer base. Yeah.
So that's really helpful. Now take me back. When did you have the moment where you're like, I love these customers, but we've got to go up market?
Yeah. So I can tell you exactly when it happened. So if you went back, so SMB is, you might manage like 200 properties, right? Like 200 doors. So the moment that it blew my mind was we had a call in 2016 and some guy rang and said, hey, I want to use your software to do inspections. I'm like, oh, great. How many properties do you manage? And he goes, well, we own and manage 110,000 units. And I was just like, yeah, we can handle that. And hung up the phone and we're like, holy crap, we did the math on that. And we're like, that's amazing. That would be the equivalent of signing up, 1,000 SMB customers. And so we actually launched to them. And the cool part was with an SMB customer, you spend probably one support ticket a month on an SMB customer paying you $50 a month, right? And then with this enterprise customer that was paying way more, we only did one support ticket a month as well. And it was it was an easy question to answer. It wasn't like hey, how do I turn on my iPad?
Yeah.
And so it was that big aha moment. I'm like, you know what? I want to keep doing that.
That's smart. So when did you launch the company?
We launched it officially in 2012.
Okay, and the pivot to enterprise was what year?
2016.
2016 pivot to enterprise. Okay, and what's team size today?
We're just about 55 people in the company.
Oh, very good. And have you decided to bootstrap the company, or did you take dilution and raise?
We bootstrapped for the first maybe 9-10 months, and then the rest we've kind of had to raise some capital.
Jindou, man, this was going to be a bromance. I was falling in love, and now you tell me you raise. How much? I know how much did you have to raise?
We've raised about $11 million today.
Okay, I mean, not horrible, but still a big chunk. Why'd you have to raise? I mean, what is the most cost intensive thing about what you're doing?
So like people, right? It's like hiring people, and then with SaaS models, as you probably know and your viewers know, there's this sort of valley of death where you kind of have to build stuff. You don't get enough revenue, and so you have to kind of figure out creative ways to do that. I would have to, if I went back and redid everything, I would probably not raise a single dollar.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, I think most founders generally would say that. Now, was the $11 million all equity, or was there any debt?
It was all equity.
All equity. Okay. Yeah, I think most founders would say that. So, all right, let's go. Let's. I know we're jumping around, but let's go back to the start here for a second. How did you get the first 100 customers?
Okay, so the way I sort of started was I actually own a bunch of real estate, and I really love investing. And then through that process, I had property managers that would be managing my properties, and they were giving me these reports of the inspection reports with pen and paper, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I pay you good money to do this. And I found out there was no software. So I made some screenshots on an iPad 1. So no camera, just iPad 1. And I rang 20 companies, like cold call. And I said, hey, I've got this cool app. Can I come and show you? And I'd go in and demo the app. It's like screenshots on an iPad 1, fit nicely. They were trying to tap it. I'm like, no, these are photos. It's not an app. And we actually had 19 of the 20 people I met actually signed up to use the software before we had anything. So that was...
Did they pay?
That's how... Yeah, so they signed up to pay $50 a month.
Okay, so you had about again $1,000 kind of in pre-sales.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot, but it was like, holy crap! Now I've got to actually build it. I've got the actual contracts from back in the day.
That's so cool.
It was so dodgy. It's just
No, I don't think. Why do you say it's dodgy? No, that gives a negative rap to what you did. I think it's smart.
Well, it's smart in hindsight, but the copy that I have on there is just, I agree to pay you money. I'm like, oh my God, like there's no sophistication in that whatsoever. But
that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, but and I went back to went back home and I was like, rang my co-founder and I said, hey, can you build this at night for me? And he was working at another video gaming company. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And that's how we got started.
That's
we just
great.
built it.
So now fast forward, so whatever, 6, 7 years, how many customers are you serving today?
All up in the portfolio, around the sort of 1,500 accounts.
Okay, 1,500 accounts. And then you have some roll-up data on your website, but give me the updated numbers. So 1,500 accounts, how many locations managed or doors managed?
So we are at about 1.9 million units under management.
Yeah. Okay, 1.9 million kind of units. And then you also give quantitative metrics around inspections and photos. So how many inspections are you doing, call it annually today?
Oh, geez. I think we're around the 4 million mark right at the moment. And for number of photos, this is cumulative number of photos. And it's very important that it's cumulative. We have about 131 million photos.
What about just over the past year?
I would say about maybe 6 or 7 million would be over the past year.
So actually that means growth rates if you've only been in business 7 or 8 years and you have 130 million total and only 7 over the past 12 months, that's actually declining in terms of usage.
Oh, sorry, a month.
Oh, got it.
We're actually, So
about 84 million over the past 12 months.
Yeah, we've grown a lot in the last, I'd say the last 24 months we've seen most of our growth in the last 24 months.
Yeah. Now, churn's critical in a SaaS company. What's been your annual revenue or your gross annual revenue churn?
It's really been so we really focus on enterprise. We don't look at SMB.
Yeah, so you churn SMB, right? So I'm trying to see, let's quantify the revenue loss there.
In SMB, we would churn about maybe 5 accounts for the SMB a month.
Okay.
For enterprise, we've churned 2 accounts in the last 24 months.
But Jindou, it doesn't matter. Let's not use the number of accounts because they're so different. That's why we measure revenue churn, because then you look at just a dollar, not how many accounts make up the dollar. So revenue churn over the past 12 months has been about what you think?
Oh, it's been maybe 10%, something even way less. Yeah.
Does your expansion as you upsell across your kind of 3 product tiers, right? The Happy Manage, Happy Insights, Happy Inspector, does it more than make up for the 10% lost?
Yeah, so our net dollar retention on average is around 112%.
Okay, so you have 22% expansion then on the 10% churn.
And if you split up the cohort to just enterprise, I think it's something along the top 100 customers have 160%. The last 12 months have 160% net dollar retention.
Yeah, that's good. So, I want to talk more about kind of your upsell motion here in a second. But I mean, I guess tell me how you're adding new customers today. So if a new customer is coming on at a $70,000 ACV, what's your fully weighted CAC look like?
So we look at it from a payback perspective.
That's fine.
It takes 12 months to pay back.
Okay, so you'll spend $70,000 to get a new $70,000 a month customer, or a year, $70,000 a year customer.
Yeah. Fully loaded marketing events, customer implementations has a portion of that, and then all the sales team.
Yeah. What's the last conference you went to that worked really nicely for you?
We go to all the industry conferences. Last one was NMHC, which is the National Apartment, like the Housing Multifamily Council. And then we're going to NAA next week, which is the big one.
What's it called?
National Apartment Association.
National Apartment, NAA.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's the big one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And obviously there's sponsor fees involved there, but still generally, if you spend $10,000, you're going to look to get $10,000 in new ARR.
Way more than that. Yeah. So what we do is we kind of run a multi-touch attribution, and which is really tough in enterprise, as you know, because you talk to someone and it really is another 10 more touches before you even get to something exciting. So, but the conferences, they do really well for us.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, 2012, you scaled it at 1,500 customers. You're moving into enterprise, but historically the average is, you said, call it maybe $6,000 ACVs or $500 a month. I mean, if I multiply that
and lower than that, like historically it was $50 a month. Like that's when we first started, right? And then we started to, on average, if you took away all, let's say the 1,400 customers and just took on the top 100, then that would be that magic number, the $70,000.
Okay, got it. And what percent of revenue do the top 100 customers represent, would you say?
About 70% of the revenue.
Okay, I mean, yes, that's fair. Okay, fairly significant. So, yeah. And when did you sign your first enterprise deal? Was that call you had back in the day?
Yeah, I think that was the one that we kind of always said that was the time when we went, oh, let's move to enterprise. We did have a few enterprise customers before that, but they were just big accounts. We didn't classify them as such. So really, 2016 was that the first time we made that switch consciously.
Yeah. And then look, I mean, can I back into the math? So 100 of your enterprise accounts, $70,000 ACVs, you're at about 7 million run rate today without including your SMB cohort.
Yeah. About that. Yeah.
That's good. And then you said that represented about 70% of your total. So can I multiply that times 1.3 to get your kind of total run rate today, or no?
I think you could get, they would be very close to that number. Yes.
Okay. Why? Well, I guess let me ask you about growth rate, right? So if that's where you're at today, what would you put growth rate at over the past 12 months?
So last year we grew at a 60% top line year over year. And then we had a minus 10% EBITDA margin. So we look look at that pretty closely. This year we're looking at we're on track to doing about 70% top line and then a 10% positive EBITDA margin this year.
Yeah. So we can calculate E40 metric, 60% growth, negative 10% EBITDA would put you about E50, which is pretty darn healthy.
Yeah.
How do you manage decisions around kind of fluctuating those two things? Increase cash burn to drive growth, decrease cash burn but lower growth?
So I think last year what we did is I hate fundraising and I'm really crap at fundraising. And in 2017 was our sort of last round of. So let me shift a little bit back and hopefully this will resonate some of your listeners. 2015, I think 2016, we raised a bit of capital and we had about maybe 25 people in the company at that stage. We had about $110,000 left in the bank. Next payroll was in 3 days, 4 days.
What year was that?
That was 2016. Yeah, that was 2016.
100K left in the bank.
Yeah, 25 people on payroll. Next payroll cycle would be in 3-4 days. Like that was pretty stressful. That's like I remember going, I don't know if I can swear, but dang, we need to get this sorted. We were negotiating a term sheet and it just took forever. And then finally, I rang one of our investors. I said, hey, look, this round that you agreed to be in, we probably can't do it. Like, we may not be able to do it because we're running out of cash. And he's like, these were a bunch of Belgium guys, really great guys. They said, you know what, I'll wire you $500,000 and we'll get the paperwork sorted afterwards.
And there are investors on your cap table today?
Our cap table today. And my co-founder and I were sitting in my bedroom, living room, a studio apartment in San Francisco. That's how glamorous we are. We sat down and went, damn, like I never want to do this again. That we saw the wire hit the bank account and we just went, we dodged a bullet. And so I decided I don't want to have to do that again. So when we raised the last round of funding in 2017, our goal was to get profitable. And we got there in December last year.
That's good. And so what today kind of, EBITDA margin is what, positive 10%?
Positive 10%, yeah. We're on track to doing positive.
Yeah. And again, if you're doing 7 million from enterprise and then multiply by 1.3, that's kind of 9 million run rate monthly. That means you're taking $750 a month, or talking about 75 grand in free cash flow monthly.
Correct.
You just let it pile up as a safety net.
So what we do is we spent a lot of time recreating a bit more discipline and structure in our organization. So what we do, we have a planning framework, which sounds really boring, but what it is you would say, okay, now we have, so let's say in Q1, we take that for example, we actually came up $500,000 ahead of budget, right? So we go, okay, well, we're $500,000 ahead of budget. Then we go, how do we spend this money? And then we have a bunch of projects which we have on our back burner. We go, we should invest in these 2 or 3 areas. One of it is actually to increase one of the projects was to make our existing employees happier. So what does that mean? Reevaluating their benefits and their salaries. But that's one project, and there's another 2 more which we kind of picked, and we sort of said, let's allocate that capital into these 2 or 3 projects. That's how we
any plans to raise capital now?
We are actually going through a fundraise right now.
Yeah. What do you think the right amount is to raise currently?
So we're doing it because we have a bunch of customers that want to put capital in the company. And for us, we don't need to raise, and we really just we're working on a few projects that would need our customers to back us. I don't know how to really give more away, but
no, I'm just curious. Are you looking at like a $5 million round, 10 million, 20 million?
We're probably going to do a $10 million round, but only half of that will probably hit the balance sheet, and then we'll probably do a bit of debt on top of that as well if we choose to.
So you think you'll do 5 million in equity from customers and then 5 million debt if you want to?
I think something along those lines is what we're aiming for. Yeah.
Which debt firm do you think you'll work with?
We're going to go with a more traditional lender. We don't want to do any venture debt.
Why is that?
Because I think, like, I looked at it and I just think the venture debt, I think it's structured in a way to make your business, like, I don't know, it's not very friendly to a business. And right, because you have these covenants and you have all these different like clauses that make you work a certain way. And if you change your business model, you can't change it because they're like, well, you said you were going to do X and now we're going to call back and we're going to penalize you.
You didn't talk to any venture debt firms where there were no covenants, no warrants, and no personal guarantees? It was just a simple interest rate?
There's very few that will do that.
Interesting. I do a deal with you. By the way, surprise, I do this on the side. I would do a deal with you where it's no covenants, no warrants, no personal guarantees, 5 million at a simple interest rate.
I'll do that deal any day.
Okay, let's chat. I'm dead serious. I do this. My whole thing is like, I saw some of these term sheets as well. And I'm going, because they all listen to the show and they ask for interest to CEOs. And I started looking at the term sheets. I'm going, this is crazy. This is ridiculous. So I started lending myself. And, by the way, I'm not getting rich from it, but I'm loaning at 10 to 15%, kind of very simple interest. I get no equity, no covenants, no warrants. And it works nicely for me and the founders.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good product that you have there because I looked at everything and it was just very sharky, right? And I'm like, well, this is no better than raising equity. But the ones that we're talking to at the moment are people that will they'll lend on your revenue.
Yep.
Or your accounts receivable. And we're like, that's easy for us because we have good control over financial.
I will go up exposure into any one company up to 1x ARR. So I'd max out at around 9 with you guys. 5 is easy.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll send you a bullet, email bullet version kind of thing after this, and we'll see if we can make something work. That'd be fun.
Yeah. That'd be great.
All right. Let's wrap up with the famous 5. Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
I love all of them. I really like Principles by Ray Dalio.
Yep. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
CEO, not at the moment. No, I think everyone has something I can learn from.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building your company?
Tool. We use Asana a lot.
Okay. Number 4, how many hours of sleep are you getting every night?
How many what?
Hours of sleep.
Oh man, I have an 18-month-old baby, so maybe between 3 to 4. I don't know.
Okay, so married, 1 kiddo or more?
Married, 1 kid, and a little tip: have a kid when you're much younger than what.
How old are you?
I'm 39 this year.
You're still young. All right. Last question. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Just do what you want to do, and then don't live up to anyone else's expectations. It's your life, and just choose how you want to live your life.
Guys, there you go. Happyco started off making inspection sheets, going from pen and paper to digitalized. Now they're doing about $9 million in terms of AR, serving 1,500 customers, but their top 100 customers make up 70% of their revenue, or about $7 million in ARR. They've raised $11 million to do this. Profitable, $75,000 a month going to the bottom line. They've grown about 60% year over year, 55 folks on the team, 10% annual revenue churn, gross basis, 22% expansion for 112% net revenue retention annually, spending, call it $1 to get a new dollar of ARR. Jindou, thank you for taking us to the top.
Thank you.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers, they try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.